Hebert, contestant number 5.
Hello, Toastmasters. You've heard that a few times. Welcome guests. Lakasha. Where is she? Lakasha. What a way to start the Toastmasters Educational Conference. This was a tour de force of the skills that we study in the Competent Communicator Manual. Your gestures, your eye contact, your vocal variety, all of these things were exemplary. Your energy is wonderful. We can feel it even before you get on the stage. You have a way of carrying yourself up here that just lets us know we're in for something good. In your own words, I've got this. You also demonstrated some very advanced skills. So things like the use of the microphone. Holding a handheld microphone and managing that well, that is a difficult skill. Being able to parlay it from hand to hand so that you have the full use of your gestures towards both sides of the room. Now that's even more of a refinement. So you gave us so much just to take in and study from what to do and how to do it well. I gotta wonder, how am I going to support you with some possible improvements? So what I have to offer is very much on the high level side. The first one is when you use, and your gestures were wonderful, the stopping gesture. Bam! Well, first of all, I loved that. And in a short while, the room understood the gesture, and we were all trying to stop. So if you're going to have something that is that repetitive throughout a 7-minute speech or longer, you might invite us to play with you. Do, do, do.
Bam.
Bam! Yeah, like that. Some way to keep that, to share that energy, because it is infectious. You have an infectious way about you. The other thing that I would like to suggest is, even though this is a small stage, you really didn't need some of the movement that you did. From side to side was a little bit distracting because everything else was so wonderful about it. To make any movement that you do intentional will help. The gestures, all of those things, you're actually a very grounded person up here. We don't have any trouble watching you stand still and take all that energy from you that way. The third thing I'd like to suggest is a little bit on the structure side, and that has to do with the ending. Right at the end, there was sort of a lessons for other beginners kind of a piece that wasn't really referred to or in the structure of the rest of the speech. It's a wonderful story all by itself, and I would have been perfectly satisfied to end the story knowing that you have had enough of skiing. But regarding speaking, girl, you have got this. Thank you.
Chris Pond, contestant number 4.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, viewers at home, especially Natasha, David. Where are you? Small stage, big crowd, excellent speech. And it was done on something that is very cherishable to people, their vacation. Going skiing up there. Usually people have a fun time on their vacation. But the twist of Latasha's speech was that it was a tragic experience. And it was done in a way that everyone, even if you have not gone skiing ever in your life, that you can relate to. Yes, that was the best part, was the strength of her organization that allowed her to put words in places and word images in our minds. Again, if you've never been skiing, you can relate to her feelings. The organization was very chronological. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Easy to follow. In addition, she jumped right in. She didn't tell us what she was going to do. She just said, I've always wanted to ski. And she got right into the story and had us from the beginning, or at least me. I also think I saw a laugh and a smile from Gary Schmidt, too. In addition, the word images she did were very, very good. there's wedge the skis, and a chairlift that went up, up, and up. And the swish and swish of the brigade of the 5- and 6-year-olds. You can tell, you always know when 5- or 6-year-olds are ahead of you. No matter what you're doing. And she also didn't say what she was going to say before she said it. She just jumped right in. Where I begin to nitpick, though, is that I would want to hear the sound of the wedge. If you are just closing your eyes and you're imagining skiing, if she is trying to break on this hill, this wedge, make a sound effect. Whoosh, whoosh. Kind of like how a car might be skidding before it's trying to stop. And we can relate to that as well. Where if you just go, and then bam, that's effective, but a sound effect would be great too. Also more dialogue and less narration. Even though there was lots of good narration, she went a little too fast when she was talking with Eric in the morning. And the 5- or 6-year-olds, what are you saying to them, or at least what are you thinking when they're passing you by? That's stuff that everyone can relate to as well, instead of they just passed by. Overall, though, it was an incredibly easy speech to follow. In particular, her word images gave the speech a big chairlift. And now that she has lived to tell about it, I hope one day she goes and tries it again.
Contestant number 1, Darin, Deterra. Darin, Deterra, contestant number 1.
How many of you have ever tried to learn how to ski? That's a lot of people. How many of you have ever fallen skiing? Why do I see more hands now than I did the first time? My fellow Toastmasters, honorary dignitaries, and Latasha. Latasha started out with a disadvantage from the start. This was an entertaining story with personal meaning. And it was a story that required a lot of hand gestures. From the start, her mic failed, which meant that she was somewhat disadvantaged in using her body language to convey something that required a lot of action. So I want everybody to consider that when you're evaluating and looking at this speech. From the start, she didn't say a thing to give a clue to us that she was working with a disadvantage. Because let's face it, if you're talking about skiing, you're moving all over the stage because that's what you're doing when you're skiing. You can't do that when you've got one of your hands not free. So she was a little bit inhibited. But I thought that Latasha overcame that very effectively. She was warm, she was personal, she was playful, and above all, she had an organized speech with an organized step-by-step, day-by-day account of where she was going. So you felt a sense of progress through the story. I felt the audience was engaged, the audience was having fun with Latasha. Where are some areas where Latasha can improve on this? Well, first of all, did you notice that when I asked you a question, I brought all of you in with me? I think if you, Latasha, and where are you, Latasha? Can you raise your hand? Way back there. Hi, Latasha. If you can bring the audience in and say something to the audience to establish that connection, because this is a group of people you don't know. Some of the speakers, like our international president, did this very effectively. Bring us in and make that connection and then start to speak, because we're all there with you skiing. Second, I would like to see you exaggerate even more. You had great gestures, great voice, but pause and then hit us with that bam. Let us hear that bam, let us feel that bam, and let us play with you out on the slopes. So we're going around with you, we're watching you, and we're having fun with you. You did a great job. You can actually even accentuate it more. Third, I think the ending could be a little stronger. Bring us back in at the ending. Relate it to us, the audience, so we feel that final connection at the end of the speech. You can actually ad-lib. You could call this 85-12-4. 85 attempts down the slopes. 12 bams, and all in 4 days. Thank you very much.